All right, we got our recording going here, and this is our analysis call. So second Thursday, we're into analysis. Now, one of the things I've kind of been watching, a lot of you guys are really getting into this now, and it's pretty exciting to see the forward motion. And I wanted to kind of address something that I am seeing. I haven't seen anybody make the jump into creation yet, which there's a lot of action going on in analysis, but I think a lot of people are getting comfortable here in analysis, which is great, but making that next step is really important too, and that's going to be outside your comfort zone now that you've got comfortable with analysis. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too, within analysis itself specifically, I'm seeing some people get stuck in the competitor analysis, and you know what that is really for, and also on the avatar. Those are like the two spots where I see kind of some congestion going on in the avatar and the competitor analysis. So let me address the avatar first. One of the things is the avatar, a lot of times we are the avatar ourselves. And this is something I've noticed, like when you create a program or a product, and that program or product is based on something that you needed yourself in your life, then very likely is you are the avatar. So if that's the case, you're going to be able to fill the majority of the avatar stuff out just from your own experience, because you know what you were feeling, you know why you needed it, you know that there was nothing in the market that was addressing that, or you know why you didn't get the things that were in the market. Maybe they were too expensive, maybe you know they had bad reputations, whatever it may be. You will know all of that because you lived it, you went through it. So if that's the case, you can pretty well breeze through the avatar. Not to say that you shouldn't go in and do some of that research also, because you may learn other things that you didn't know or you weren't aware of. But a lot of times, here's another thing about the research. A lot of times you won't get a lot of those answers that you're looking for without actually talking to people. There's no magical tools online that's going to answer all the avatar questions for you. Some of it is going to be kind of intuitive. Some of it is going to be thinking about you personally, of who you want to work with. When you get to the avatar really is a representation of your ideal client. If you could pick like the one person on earth that you would just absolutely love to work with, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that image in that avatar. So some of that is going to be coming from you, of who you want to work with. And that's going to be different with all of us. You know, some of us might resonate more with women. Some might resonate more with men. So that, again, it doesn't mean that it's you know, a different market segment, or it doesn't mean that the other ones aren't good. It just means, who do you want to work with? Because when you create your ideal avatar and you attract those people, that's going to make your life better. It's going to make you more productive. It's going to make you more profitable, no matter how you slice it. Because if you're working with people that you don't resonate with, and they're abrasive and they're difficult, that just, I'm sure you've all worked with somebody like that at some point in your career, and it drains you. There's a drag that it puts on you. And when you've got that drag, it's like you're not free swimming anymore. You want to get to that freedom. Freedom's not just about money. It's about time, and it's about frustration. It's about eliminating that. And that's the key point to the avatar. It's figuring out, if you don't figure out who that person is, you'll never be able to attract them. And if you just go in the, you know, where you just want to attract everybody, you're going to wind up getting a lot of the wrong people. So that's really the kind of the key thing with the avatar. And like I've said this many times, there's no online program, or there's no thing out there that is really going to answer all of the avatar questions for you. You know, you're looking, you're doing research, you're figuring out what sections of the market are the most profitable. That there's online tools to do. You can figure out the most profitable segments of the market. But when it comes to the avatar, and I think that's why people have kind of got stuck there. They're looking for these answers to come from online, and in some cases they're going to have to come from either experience or based on your own internal wish list of who you want to work with. And that's perfectly fine. That's absolutely fine, because what's going to happen when you define it and you get really clear on who that person is that you want to work with, and you move forward into creation and you start writing your offers and your copy, you're going to be writing to that person. So naturally, you're going to attract that person. And anybody that's not that person, they may actually get repelled by that copy. And that's going to be great. That's going to work in your benefit. You're not looking for the masses. You're looking for you're looking to cherry pick. You know, that's what this gives you. It gives you the freedom to cherry pick who you want to work with. So if that makes sense, that, you know, that's kind of, that's about all I had really for the avatar, unless you guys have specific questions, you know, in relationship to that. If there's anything where I can, you know, refine or go deeper on. Yeah, go ahead, Cynthia.
The one thing I've learned in my work is that just the one point, everything, I loved everything you said because I agree with it. The one point is, I try to tell my people when I'm working with them, you may have been your avatar as recently as a month ago, but in order to be an educator, leader, trainer, you know, guide, you come through it, you know. So I say, think about yourself as you were. And sometimes that's easier. And I work with women, so I don't know if that's a real, it's a fine line, but
yeah, no, that's actually a great point. I like that, because you're absolutely right. Because when you were that avatar, you know, it actually was you, but hopefully the thing that you created and now you're selling has transformed you. So you are no longer that person. But just having been that person, you know, you remember what you felt like. You remember what you were going through, and, you know, looking around and maybe feeling jealous of other people that had already gotten there, or, you know, so that's a really a perfect key point. The other thing too, that brings up another thing, when you're in creation and you've moved forward and you're creating a product line, keep in mind that generally where you're starting creating a product and creating a marketplace for your beginning point into your business or into your marketing funnel. And what's going to happen is, let's say you bring 100 people in, you get 100 new customers, and they're all at that point on the timeline, and your product or service or whatever you're offering, you're able to move them, you're able to advance them over to where they want to be, and you've actually transformed them now. So they're just like you at this point. They were where you were, and now they're where you are. What that does is that creates a new timeline. So your product or service may become irrelevant once you've delivered on it. So what you want to do is you want to keep in mind, what is the next thing? Even if it's not something that you do, you can always, because to be a good vendor, you know, a vendor is somebody that provides products and services, and that's basically what we are. We are vendors. We're here to take them on that journey of where they are, where they want to be. Once they get there, if we can no longer take them to the next step, it's our job to find somebody who can and pass it over, and we get paid for that. You know, that's business. That's part of a business life cycle of all customers. When you bring a customer in, there's a life cycle of that customer. And I don't care what you're doing, the life cycle of that customer can and should go until the person actually passes away. You know, like I've got a lot of people that I've had as customers and friends for over 30 years. And it's like, whatever I do or whatever I recommend, they tend to go for that. You know, they tend to appreciate that. So the idea that your customer is over, at the end of the life or at the end of the timeline, your original timeline, is a terrible waste of a client. Because sometimes that timeline will only last for a few weeks. Sometimes it's like a day. If you're a dentist, it could be over in an hour. Toothache fixed, you're in good shape. But that person, if you don't serve them for the rest of their life, you're not serving them and you're not serving yourself. So just, keep that in mind. If the toothache is over, what's the next thing that they're going to need? They're going to want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. They're going to want to do, routine checkups, all of that stuff. And if your marketing piece isn't fulfilling on that, you're really just wasting money. You're watching money just go under the bridge. It's like Andy, who's in our group. He does the send out cards, and he's positioning himself now as the client retention specialist. And that's so important, client retention. It's like, he's using send out cards to do it. There's a number of ways to do it. One of the best ways I've ever experienced in my life is actually taking clients out on our boat for the Christmas parade. I used to do that every year. I had a boat in Huntington Harbor for like 10 years. And every year I would invite all of our clients and their families out. And sometimes we'd do 2 or 3 runs a night so I could get them all in. And I'm telling you, those people are still talking about that today. They still are reminiscing about how cool that was. So whenever you can be top of mind for your customers, they'll always come back to you. Like in SEO, I'm constantly bombarded with other competitors trying to steal away a customer. And when you have a solid relationship with your customer, they'll get the other offers, but then they'll bring them to you instead of just, not calling you. If you're not top of mind, they're not going to call you. They're going to call the other guy, and as soon as they have the other guy on the phone, he is going to be bashing you. So client retention is a way to prevent that. It's a way to stay top of mind. And like I said, taking those people out on the boat, for me, it was a game changer. And I didn't even realize it at the time. It was like years and years after they were still talking about that. I didn't know how good that was at the time, but looking back on it, anything you can do to create that kind of relationship with your customers, even if it's outside of the business that you're doing, to connect and just, make yourself be top of mind for them. That's what you want to do. And there's so much more money to be made that is normally left on the table because of that, because you're not going out and you're not figuring out, okay, what is their timeline now? Just because your product or service doesn't serve them anymore doesn't mean that you can't find somebody that does and make the referral. There's great value in that. You become valuable. You become top of mind. You made a good referral. They made a good next step. They advanced. And then who are they going to look to next? You give them the first step. You give them the second step. Who do you think they'll look to for the third step? It's human nature that people want to go back because they're comfortable with you. It's just like you guys are comfortable now in analysis. I'm going to have trouble moving you to creation because it's not going to be comfortable anymore. So when you can create that with your customers and they're comfortable with you and it's uncomfortable for them to move to someone else, that is gold. That is absolute gold for your business. So any way you can do that is awesome. And I know, I'm just going to give Andy another plug because he's been using the send out cards. He knows that I like brownies. So guess what he sends me? He doesn't just send me a card. He sends me the brownies now. Every time I get something in the mail from him, it's got brownies with it. And, who am I going to turn to when I need somebody that has to do with that? Who am I going to turn to when I need to make a referral for someone? I've already made a ton of referrals for him just because of that relationship that he created with those damn brownies, and I don't really need brownies, but I like brownies. So that's really something you want to think about when you're in this and you're developing your avatar. Think about not only where you're going to take them, but where they're going to go next. That's really important. And then what that's going to do, that's going to help you build a long-term product line that you can sell to them over and over and over. So that's going to be next in creation. When we get into high demand products, one of the things I talk about there is when you're delivering on your first product, how to allude to what's next, how to warm them up and get them already creating that demand and desire for once they've hit the end of the timeline for what the next step is going to be. So really, really cool stuff. So next, I want to move on to the competitor analysis. And this is another place where I've seen some bottlenecks. And one of the things with competitor analysis that is really, it's like the key to it. There's a lot of stuff in there, and it seems like a lot of busy work, and some of it is. So I want to just kind of hit the key things of what you're really trying to get out of competitor analysis. Is first of all, understanding how many different solutions are being provided to your avatar. And what I mean by that is, I'll use the example of the chiropractor. The chiropractor, what he's delivering is he's delivering back pain relief. If you look at the timeline, their back hurts, and the end of the timeline is they're pain-free. They no longer have the pain in their back. So who else in the market delivers that same desired outcome? The same desired outcome might be delivered by an acupuncturist, might be a massage therapist, it might be a drug manufacturer, it might be self-meditation. There could be all kinds of people making the claim that they can cure that problem and get you to your desired outcome. And you need to understand that, because you need to understand what your avatar is being bombarded with and what kind of beliefs that's creating for them. Because when you go to start creating, your claim-proof benefit statements, those are all going to be based around the beliefs that they already have. And those beliefs are what's going to become their objection. So we have to understand that. We have to understand what they're being promised by the market. And I'm not sure if that really came across clear in the lesson on that. When we get to competitive analysis, I'm not sure I gave that overview. And I think that's really important to understand why we're doing it. To understand what they're being bombarded with. So that's the first piece to that. The second thing is we want to look at what they're promising. And it's the same thing. Different promises could be coming from all these different sources. So we need to understand what the avatar is hearing. It goes back to the empathy grid. What are they hearing? What are they seeing? What are they feeling? So this is like what they're seeing and what they're hearing. Doesn't necessarily have to do with what they're feeling. That's going to come from a different source. But certainly what they're getting from your competitors is going to be what they're hearing and what they're seeing for certain. So that's where you're going to find that stuff. And you're also, it's going to help you brainstorm the process when you start creating your hooks, which your hooks are basically your advertisements. You want to also know where they're placing their advertisements, because they've probably spent a bunch of money ahead of you, and hopefully they've figured some things out for you, and they can save you a little bit of learning curve there. Like if you notice that they're advertising on Instagram, let's say for instance, and your audience happens to be a younger audience, you're going to realize that they've recognized that Facebook isn't holding that audience. Facebook, younger folks don't tend to like Facebook near as much. The baby boomers are eating Facebook alive. The baby boomers live in Facebook. But the younger generation, they're anti-Facebook. They don't like it. They like, Snapchat and Instagram and, all of these newer up and coming things that, you know, they don't have the traction of Facebook, but they do have that audience. And that should be the most important thing to you, is figuring out where your audience is, who is in control of your audience, and that's where you want to spend your advertising dollars. So seeing those hooks, where are those hooks showing up? Are they showing up in search, or how are they in organic? You know, if you've got a competitor and they're spending money on pay-per-click and they're spending money on organic, and you've done your keyword research and you find that your audience is in the aware phase and they're searching, then you know that's where you need to show up. You know, if you show up in Facebook and they're already aware and they're searching, they're not searching inside of Facebook. When they want that, they're searching actively in the search marketplace, whether it be Google, Bing, Yahoo, wherever. That's where they are. That's where they're hunting for that information. So they may be blinded to it over in Facebook because they don't see it there. They're not looking for it there. Now, if they're unaware, Facebook is the exact opposite. It becomes a thing where that's a good place to make them aware. And when you make them aware, if you make it easy on them and you just give them a link to click on instead of having to go and search for the answer, all the better. So you want to look at that. You want to look at where they're showing up, what their hooks are. And their hooks are the things that are the attention grabbers. You know, like in Facebook, what's their attention grabbing ad? Because you know, if you don't have something that's attention grabbing, they're just going to graze right over it. You've got to be able to shock them. You know, in the NLP world, it's a pattern interrupt. You've got to stop their normal process and get their attention. And that's the whole idea of a hook, which is your ad. It's grab their attention, stop them, and give them a call to action to move them to click. You know, when they click, then they're going to be going to a landing page more than likely. And what's at the top of the landing page is what's called the lead. And the job of the lead is to hold them there. You've grabbed their attention, you've got them to click. Now you have to hold them and get them to consume the rest of the message. So that's the kind of stuff in competitor analysis, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for their ads. How are they grabbing the attention and getting you to click? And then their landing pages are next. How are they getting you to consume the material? How are they getting you to opt in? What are they offering? You know, what is their promise? What's their unique mechanism, if they have one? A lot of times you guys might be finding stuff where they are fairly unsophisticated. Maybe the market itself is unsophisticated and they're just not up to that level yet. That's actually good for us because we can craft a superior offer. But we have to know what the offers are that we're competing against first before we can craft a superior offer. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And then once we get that, we want to go through their whole marketing funnel just to see what they're doing. You know, we're not just looking at the hook and the big idea and then, you know, the lead and the landing page. We want to know what's on the other side of that. How are they actually closing the sale? Are they three-dimensionalizing their benefits? Are they creating unique guarantees? You know, you want to look at all that stuff. What are they guaranteeing? What are they offering? What's their price points? You know, all of that stuff, because that's all going to come into creation when you go to craft a superior offer. If you don't have that stuff at your fingertips, you're just going to be guessing. So that's why it's so important. And I just don't know if that came across in the original training of why you were doing it and what you're actually looking for. Now, I've worked with a couple of people that I wasn't really aware of how I can pick things out and identify, you know, like what is the unique mechanism. That's going to just take some practice and skill to really learn that. But when you're looking at their headlines and stuff, to me it's obvious because I ask this question: what is the thing that I'm going to get from this that's actually going to deliver the result? That is going to be the unique mechanism every time. It doesn't mean that they're going to have a unique mechanism. They may not have one. They may not be that sophisticated. But if anywhere in their hook or their headline, their lead in to the offer, any place in there where you see something, it's the thing that is going to deliver the result, that is the unique mechanism. So anywhere where there's a promise statement, that's what they're promising. That's their promise to the market. Like their promise is, if you use this particular thing, you're going to get the result. So the promise is you're going to get the result by using the unique mechanism that only they have. So, a lot of that, there is no real formula because everybody does it differently. I can't really say, unique mechanism is going to be in the first line of the first sentence. There's no way for me to like give you a template to figure that out. You just have to kind of decipher it. You have to read it and decipher it and see what's what. But that's usually how I identify the unique mechanism. It's real easy. It's the thing that's going to deliver the result. Like in the diet pills, it's the Garcinia cambogia. That's the unique mechanism to their pill that's going to deliver the result. In our system, it's the ACT system itself is the thing that's going to deliver the result, which is going to allow you to create a home run marketing campaign. Without the ACT protocol, which that is the unique mechanism, you can't get to that point where you deliver a marketing program that's a home run marketing campaign. So whatever it is, you just have to look for what is the thing that's going to actually do the work. That's another thing too that's important that you decipher. Nobody wants to buy a unique mechanism that makes them do the work. I see this a lot where their unique mechanism is you actually doing the work, and nobody wants that. It's like, so I'll give you an example. Like, let's say it was a piece of exercise equipment. Let's say it's an elliptical machine, and you come across with a statement like, you are going to lose weight when you ride this thing 30 minutes a day. That means you are the unique mechanism. It's not the machine that's going to do the work. It's you are going to do this. You are going to get the result by you riding this machine 30 minutes a day. That's a very bad way to position your unique mechanism because you're positioning it as them. Nobody wants to do the work. They want the magic thing that's going to do the work for them. So whenever you're looking for that, that's something you want to recognize. Recognize bad marketing so you don't copy it. That's as much of the program as recognizing a good one so you can copy it and improve upon it. Recognize bad marketing. So, just shifting that around, you could shift that around to this elliptical machine will shed pounds off you like magic. You're shifting of what's going to do the work from you riding it 30 minutes a day to this elliptical machine's going to shed those pounds off you. See the difference in that? It's a very different way that's taken in by your avatar, because nobody wants to do work. We are all by nature lazy beings. It's just the truth. We might not want to admit it, but we are all by nature. We will all take the lesser path if given the option. So working with that instead of working against it is going to be your best opportunity to create a marketing campaign. So questions at this point? I think those are like the two big hurdles I see so far is the avatar. People are stuck on the avatar, and I think I've kind of geared this to address that, kind of get over that hurdle. And then the second one was the competitor research, and just understanding what you're looking for and how to identify the competitors. And the other thing too, before we move on, before I forget this is really important. a lot of people they will toil over their copy. They'll toil over like every line, every sentence, everything. And that is not going to really change your conversion all that much. There's two major things that are going to contribute to your conversion. And one of them is right up front, it's your big idea and your hook. And the other one is going to be your offer. Those are the two maximum points of conversion. Because on the front end, if you don't hook them, you're not going to get a chance to convert them. So I would spend a lot of effort on that very front piece of how do you get them, how do you do that pattern interrupt? You know, what is working for the pattern interrupt to grab their attention and then bring them into your system? Because the more people you can bring in, the better chance you'll have to convert them. And the other thing that's going to convert them is the offer. If they don't buy the offer, then your conversion is meaningless. You don't have conversion. You've only got conversion on the front end. And you know, you can build your mailing list with that. I do encourage that. Everything that you do, I encourage you to be dropping people into your mailing list, because as you build your marketing campaign, you're going to get sharper and sharper and sharper. So your ability to go back to those people and try and resell them, you're going to get a lot more conversions on that. Once you get it totally dialed in, everyone that comes through, you'll know your conversion numbers, and that's fine. So do build your list. Don't do anything in the beginning that does not get people onto your mailing list. That is the biggest waste of time and money I've ever seen in, you know, testing marketing campaigns where you're not collecting their email addresses, you know, or you're not retargeting them, some way to be able to get back to them. That's just a killer, in my opinion, is doing that. So really focus when you're doing your competitor research. Focus on those two things. Don't necessarily look at their copy line by line. It doesn't really matter that much. It's going to be the offer and the hook. Those are going to be your two big points where you're going to get massive conversion. If you have a good offer, you're going to get massive conversion. If you have a bad offer, I don't care how good your copy is, I don't care how good the process leading up to the offer is, if you have a bad offer, it's not going to convert. Everything is going to be blown and wasted along the way. So make sure your lead-in is solid. Make sure your offer is solid. Look at those two pieces in your competitor analysis as being the keys, not necessarily all the little minute details. Don't sweat all the little stuff that they're doing in between, but look at how they're attracting them, how they're grabbing their attention, how they're moving them to action and getting them into their marketing funnel, and then how they're closing them. What is the offer on the end? Those are the two key components. If you drop the middle, you would still make money. But if you miss the front, you're not going to make money. If you miss the offer, you're not going to make money. So those, I would focus most of my time on creating an irresistible offer, and also how am I going to get the maximum amount of people grabbed from where they are and moved into my marketing campaign where I have a shot at trying to convert them. So hopefully that makes sense. You know, when you're doing your competitor analysis, those two pieces are just crucial to identify and get a handle on.
One thing that I'd like to share, John, that made a huge difference for Barbara and I, that I think maybe other people may be kind of hooked up on. You may not necessarily find what it is you're looking for. That was a big aha for us, because in all the competitors' research we were coming up with, nobody's paying for, you know, AdWords. People aren't in their quote product name and in their name, you know, it's not coming up with AdWords. It's not coming up with advertisements that they're posting or anything like that. What you shared with us was that It may not be out there in the way that we're looking for it. Of course, these guys in the SEO and advertising are kind of guys good at hiding it, but I know that when you're not finding what it is you think you're supposed to be finding, you feel like you're doing it wrong.
You might not be.
Yeah, you may not be wrong.
Yeah, that, to kind of go further on that, Barb and Gay were actually doing research to find out competitors for the ACT program. And when you're addressing people that are more tech savvy, like people in the internet marketing realm, they do a lot of things to cover their tracks, so you can't uncover this in research. Like they will block things, they'll do it under different domain names, they'll run ads in different places where you can't find them. So what Gay had said is, just because you can't find it doesn't mean that it's not out there somewhere. And you know, it's like you're not doing something wrong. So keep that in mind. If you're in less sophisticated markets, it's usually a lot more open and easy to find. There are some more advanced tools out there, like SpyFu, for instance. I'm not sure if I talked about SpyFu, but that's a more advanced tool to do competitor research in the pay-per-click world. So if you're trying to find out what they're running pay-per-click ads for, that tool is called SpyFu. It's a more expensive tool. It's not a free, I don't think there's a free version of it. I think the base rate is probably about $150 a month, which is why I didn't even bring it up. But if you're looking for competitor research in the pay-per-click, what you can do is you can find the competitors in there, and it will track what they're doing over time. So you can see, okay, if they're running this particular ad for X amount of days in a row, you know it's probably converting. You can also see the ads that they're testing, and they only run them for 2-3 days, maybe a week, and then they drop them. You know, okay, that ad didn't work. So that's a really good tool to use for that. In the Facebook world, there's a tool called AdsVisor, and I did talk about that one. I'm pretty sure I have a link to that in the resources. AdsVisor is a tool that will do the same thing for Facebook ads. It will show you like who's running what ads. It is a paid tool, so you know it's another one of those that you'd have to pay to get access to. But it'll tell you how long they've been running it. I believe it will also tell you what markets that they're running it to, what audiences. So it'll delve you into the Facebook insights and tell you what audience they're hitting with those ads as well. Another thing too, when you're in the analysis phase and you're understanding who your competitors are, make sure that you visit their sites. Actually go to their websites, because what's going to happen is if they're doing advertising, they're going to be dropping cookies on you and they're going to be retargeting you. So pay attention to what they're retargeting you with. That's part of their ad campaign. That's what you want to uncover, is what they're doing. So look at their hooks on the retargeting. So go out and, you know, actually visit those sites, poke around, opt in for things, see what they email you. You know, I have particular folders in my email box that's just specifically for that. And I call it OPM. It's my OPM folder. That's other people's marketing. Most people go for other people's money, but this is the same thing. This is money. This is other people's marketing. So if it's good, I throw it in the OPM folder. And that way I can go back and I can review that stuff later on if I need to make an ad campaign on a particular thing and I have it in my OPM folder, I've got a good template to start from. And I can reanalyze. I can say, okay, what was their hook here? What's their lead in? What's their offer? And then I can, you know, on the fly, I can just create a new one based on that. So I do that all the time. Like Ryan Dice, he's always putting stuff out. And he is a great marketer. So, you know, like he'll put out a LinkedIn product. So I'll throw that in my OPM folder under LinkedIn. So I know if I ever want to create a LinkedIn lead magnet, he's already done the heavy lifting for me. I just have to go back, look at what he did, and put my unique mechanisms in it, change my offer, and boom, I have a LinkedIn marketing campaign, or a LinkedIn lead magnet to bring people in. So, cool stuff. But that's one thing. Like Gay and Barb were saying, we're not seeing ads on this, and it was because they haven't been to any of their sites. They were wondering how I knew about all these things. It's because, I've been on those sites. I've opted in. I'm getting all their marketing campaigns. I'm clicking on all their stuff, seeing what domains are coming up, because typically it's not their main domain. Like they'll send an email message out to try and get you to opt in. When you click on it, it'll be a completely different domain, not even related to their domain. And that's where their advertising is going on. It's going on these little side pockets. And that's why you don't see it. So immersing yourself in that market segment and seeing those competitors is going to give you a lot more insight. And I know that's, it's not something that you can do like in a day, because you're not going to be seeing their offers, the same day, more than likely. They're going to be following you around over the weeks to come. So do that. And the more you learn, the more you can go back and sharpen your sword. You don't have to complete analysis and say, okay, that's done, and I'm never going to look at that for the rest of my life. This is an ongoing thing. You're going to be creating new marketing campaigns. You're going to be testing new stuff, and that new stuff is going to be based on things you're going to learn along the way. So get comfortable with your research adjusting. Markets change, trends change. You might have a new market trend that enters your market that you want to take advantage of, and you want to be able to do that very nimbly. You don't want to be stuck into something where I say, well, this is my research and I have to stick with that, and I'm just stuck with it, and that's the way it is. You need to be able to change at the wind. If the wind blows you in a new trend, you want to take advantage of it like right now. So there'll be marketers that are doing that. You can see what they're doing. You can see, what's working for them. If they're doing, like I said, in search, if they're doing that, you can use SpyFu to see what ads they're just testing for a day or two and which ones are sticking. You can also do that just by running the searches yourself and seeing what ads are coming up. See if they're changing their headlines, or if they've got something that has stuck and they're using it over and over and over for an extended period of time. So let's see. Yeah, Cynthia, you had asked about how many people to research. I put 5 in there. There really is no number. I mean, you might be in a market that there's only 2 or 3 competitors, and if that's the case, don't.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah. But I mean, it's possible. There's people that are going to find that. They're into something new, and don't kill yourself if that's the case. Like what Gabe brought forward. If you can't find it, don't beat yourself up over that. Just move on. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. It just means that data is not there. So just skip it. Move to what is there. Leverage what you can, and forget about what you have no control over. And that's going to get you through a lot smoother. But if you've got a bunch, 5 is enough generally. And I would try and look at like the 5 top people that are offering different solutions to your problem. The problem that
different.
Yeah,
different solutions.
Yeah, different solutions. Like for instance, in the chiropractic, I would want to know how they're bringing them in for massage therapy. What are they promising? What's the unique mechanism? How are they appealing to that avatar? I'd want to know the same thing about the drug solution. I'd want to know how the acupuncture approaches it. So as many people as fighting for that avatar, I would want to know the different ways that they're doing it. So
that's cool. I would have tried to go just down the path.
No, you want to know the whole thing.
Yeah.
You want to know, like, that avatar is being bombarded with solutions to their problem, and you need to understand what all of those are, because you need to know that's really what you're competing with. If you're a chiropractor, you're not just competing with other chiropractors. If you think you are, you really have the blinders on, because what you're competing for is you're competing with solutions to back pain. So really think about who you're competing with is who is a solution for what you're offering.
Yeah.
That's going to be a more key way to look at this. Who is competing for solutions to the problem you're offering? And they might be doing it in very, very different ways. So if you understand that, you can bring that in, because when, let's say your avatar is back pain and he's been bombarded with massage, acupuncture, drugs, what that means is he's got beliefs about those things. He might have a belief that the only way he can solve this is by taking a pill. So what you have to do is you have to eliminate that belief, and the way you do that is with the claim proof benefit statement. So if you don't understand what those beliefs are, you won't be able to effectively combat them. That's going to be the key to you understanding what are the objections to your solution, is understanding what beliefs have been created by other solutions. So like for the chiropractors, for the 10 chiropractors that are all competing for that avatar, and they don't realize that avatar is hearing things about the chiropractic market that are bad, and that's why their unique mechanisms are the way to go for back pain. If they don't understand that, they can't address that in their marketing, and they're going to lose all of those prospects because they didn't understand the objections to chiropractic. And all they're getting is they're getting bombarded with solidifying those objections and then swaying them over to their unique mechanisms. So that's really a powerful concept to understand. That's why those beliefs in the web analysis, the wants, emotions, and beliefs, understanding those beliefs, that's the only way you can understand the objections. And then when you move to copy, you make your claim proof benefit statements to address those objections. That's basically, that's the ongoing formula as it goes through the system.
Thanks. Yeah.
So, all right. Any other questions or things?
Got a quick question.
Okay.
How much do I need to worry about the keywords with the competitor analysis? So I know we had talked on the workbook, it was talking about downloading the keywords from SEMrush and Google AdWords.
At this point, when you're in the analysis stage, you're really just kind of looking for an overview. It's not the same as doing keyword research for SEO. Because when we do keyword research for SEO or for a pay-per-click campaign, we're at the point there where we're really trying to make a decision on what we're willing to pay for. So
right.
In the competitor analysis, you want to know, like downloading the keywords from SEMrush, that will tell you what keywords your competitors are already ranking for. So it's kind of just an eye-opener. Sometimes it's a good brainstorming device that will let you know things that maybe you didn't know, and then also to know what keywords that people are typing in for your other competitors. Like for the back pain, for instance, what keywords is the massage therapist ranking for? What keywords is the acupuncture therapist ranking for? So you may want to intercept those people and make them aware of chiropractic when they're running searches for acupuncture for back pain. You know, and the chiropractors won't be addressing that. So that might be a big loophole where you could get some very inexpensive traffic by understanding the market, understanding, you know, what those other competitors are ranking for and what they're paying for in pay-per-click. But it's not the detailed keyword research like what you're used to for SEO. That's where, you know, we're churning through 10,000 keywords to try and figure out, you know, cherry pick the best 10 or 20 to run an SEO campaign on. That's not what you're trying to do there. You really you're trying to gather intel from the marketplace.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out how in depth I had to go with it.
Yeah, no, you don't have to go in depth with this. Like just running that SEM rush report is probably good enough for you, for your competitors.
Okay.
You know, and in the beginning, you know, in market segmentation, you know, you're going to be doing a little bit of that too, just to see what keywords, what demographics are attached to particular keyword groups. So again, you're just kind of grazing over it so you can get the lay of the land. That way you can move forward and everything should make a lot more sense when you move into creation.
Okay, I won't get too stuck in the keywords then.
Yeah. The whole idea is don't get stuck anywhere in analysis. Analysis, you're really, you know, there's no make it or break it here. You know, it's not like you don't have to get this perfect. There is no perfect to analysis. You just need to get enough for you to move forward. Some people will need more than others, and that's fine. Some people are going to be in markets where there really is limited data, and it's just not there. So don't get stuck on that. Just move forward. Use what you know about the market. You know, a lot of times, like we said in the beginning, you might be, or you might have been your own avatar when you were at that phase in your life, and your product that you created moved you to the next phase. So go back in time and think about, you know, where you were. That will give you a lot of the insight into your avatar. Because I think a lot of people, that's what they've done. They've created programs for themselves because they couldn't find a solution out there in the market. So they created their own. A lot of times when you do that, by the time you get your own created, there's 10 in the marketplace now. So that's, you know, that's just the nature of the game. Because none of us, as much as we like to think we are, none of us really are unique. You know, whatever problems we're having, there's a bunch of other people that are having the same problems. So sometimes those problems are brought on by circumstance. Sometimes they're brought on, I mean, it could be brought on by an election, you know, something completely out of our control. And at the same time you're experiencing whatever that problem is, know that you're not alone. A lot of other people are experiencing it. So the idea that a lot of solutions would flood into the marketplace at the same time makes a lot of sense. The only thing that you have to be concerned with is understanding what they are, what they're promising, understanding the marketplace, and making sure that your marketing campaign is superior. Make sure that your offer is superior. Make sure that your hooks, everything needs to be better. It's whoever has the best marketing campaign is going to win every time when it comes to advertising. I see over and over and over, I have seen people in the SEO market that don't know a fraction of what I know. In fact, they're new to the game, but they're excellent at marketing, and they will market the program and they'll just sell garbage. And it works for them because they know how to sell it. I sent an email out. Hopefully you guys got it. I sent it out this afternoon about the scam that I talked about last week. I actually sent the URL so you could watch the video. And I did finally get a refund on it because they actually emailed me back based on the conversation I had with their trainer. And they wanted to make sure they didn't have a real problem. So they immediately refunded my money once that came up, and they asked me, you know, if I could share a little insight with, you know, why I was dissatisfied with the product. And I was totally upfront and honest with them. I said I was dissatisfied because it was a complete bait and switch. And I put the URL to the video, and I said, you watch this video and you tell me if what you're offering has any relation whatsoever to that video. And I don't think you're going to find any. And I went further with them. I said, you know, if the FTC watches that video and they buy your product, I think you understand what's going to happen, right? There's going to be a lot of people in handcuffs. I mean, it was bad. It was horrible. The promises they were making in that video and what they were delivering on the backside was just pure fraud. It was 100% pure evil fraud. And I actually put a plead out with the people that are in the ACT program. Please do not use this. Don't take these skills that you're learning and use them for that purpose. That will not make me very happy.
Now, with that, how would they have got like their social proof and all that? Is that just all made up, or?
It's pure lies. It is
Oh, man.
absolute scripted lies. Everything I saw, I have no reason to believe any of it was true. But somebody,
yeah, it was neat and clean.
yeah. I mean, just because you've learned how to do a claim-proof benefit doesn't mean that that gives you license to make one up out of the sky just for your purpose. You know, that's fraud. You know, anytime you're putting out information that's not right, that's technically fraud. So you know, you can bend the truth in certain ways, but that's just, you know, that was not bent in any way. There was a complete disconnect. That was a total bait and switch. So. All right. So before we wrap up, anything else? Anything related to the analysis you guys are stuck on, or things you want to share? Yeah, go ahead, Cynthia.
So for me, since I'm doing marketing education, which is such a giant, big thing, and I think my biggest aha that you helped me with is to sort of go after all the solutions, because I'm offering like the foundational marketing. Who are you selling to? You know, what's their self-talk, and how to create headlines that grab their attention. This is for bloggers and people that post on LinkedIn. So these are not internet marketers. So the people I attract in the real world, what I'm having a challenge with is translating, because they're all different. They're all super professionals, super fabulous expert at what they do, and they don't like marketing. They feel inadequate. They feel sleazy. So it's just this sort of subset. And my challenge, is that I have all their words that these women have told me, but they're like not the people that do a lot of searching. I mean, they took my training program because they met me in person. So do you have any tips for translating the real world people into, because the people online are just different. And you know, I love Ted's comment about looking at Facebook groups, but I watch some of my peers struggle because they'll say, what do you want help with in marketing this week, right? And nobody answers them, crickets. 3 days later, they go, come on, no problems at all. And these are women, women entrepreneur private Facebook groups. So I just feel like I look at it all the time, but do you know what I'm saying? Translating the real world into what somebody's really going to type online.
Sure. And I can tell you for sure the key to that is you've got to bring what works in the real world to online. That's the thing. We get online and we lose track of what worked in the real world, and we expect the stuff that we come up with to work, and it doesn't. If you're doing stuff online that wouldn't work in the real world, it's probably not going to work online either.
And I am, because I haven't been doing ads, but my blogs aren't getting enough traction, even though I'm using my people's real live words. In fact, sometimes I put something out on LinkedIn and I think, God, I hope these 4 women don't see this, because, you know.
Yeah, and the whole thing about the crickets, if you're, let's say you've got a group, and I experience this myself. I have a group that is on the call with me every Thursday. You know, they've been since 2008. And there has been so many calls when it's just me talking. And if I didn't do that, it wouldn't really help them, because a lot of times they don't even know what to ask.
Yes.
You have to make sure that you provide value even in the absence of them asking questions. That's where you're going to really gain a following, when you're providing value and you're being a leader regardless of the interaction. It's like what Craig has always said, do your best because you don't know who's watching. You know, he said that for years, and I've known that to be true. I've gotten so many opportunities because somebody saw me do something somewhere that was geared toward a completely different group, but I was doing my best and they saw it and they wanted me over here in this other thing. So don't do that. Don't treat them like they're doing something wrong because they don't have questions. They might just not know what to ask, and that's why they're there, and they're depending on you to give them that. If you do, you're going to be providing huge value, and they're going to resonate with you, and they're probably going to follow you and take your offers. That's the whole key thing. The other thing, you had mentioned them that they feel sleazy about being marketers. Now that's a belief, so that is an objection. And I don't know, do you know Eric Latham? Eric?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he is a sales trainer. He runs all over California and all over the country doing sales training. And that is one thing that he's identified as a huge objection when he's trying to teach people to be salesmen or saleswomen. That's the biggest objection they have, is they feel like a cheap car salesman. And he just repositions it. He said the way you need to look at that is you need to look at that as you're not selling them, you're providing them a service. And if you don't provide the service, you're doing them a disservice. And he even uses an example of if you had the cure to cancer and there was a little girl and your job was to convince the father to give his little girl this cure for cancer. If you were in that position, how hard would you sell that cure? Would you just walk away? You wouldn't be serving that little girl very well if you just gave up. If you took no for an answer, and if you knew that what you had would help them, by not making that sale, you're doing them a disservice. That positions it completely different. Now, you can't possibly feel like a greasy car salesman if that's the case. So you need to believe in what you're selling to that level. You need to believe that it will help them. And if that's the case, if you don't provide enough information, that's then the education-based marketing system that you'll build. If you don't provide enough education that they can make that informed decision, then you're doing them a disservice, and that is marketing. So that's a way you can reposition that. Tell them stories so they resonate with it and they get it at a different level. Because there's nothing wrong with the way they're feeling. They're feeling that way because of beliefs. So you just need to change those beliefs. And you know our formula for that. It's claim, proof, benefit.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is Cynthia's avatar in person that's in her head that she's working with now the same avatar as an online program? Is that maybe, I'm wondering if that's part of her thought process with what they like and what they don't like and what they click on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it might be. You really, when you're identifying that avatar, you really have to think about who they are in the real world if you want to connect with them online. It's like if you were, and that's the whole reason why you create the avatar to begin with, because more than likely they will be online and you won't be face to face with them. So you have to understand what they're thinking so you know how to speak to them. So that's really a key thing. The other thing that I heard you mention also, Cynthia, is your audience is, you've got a lot of different people. So what you might want to do, the main thing that you're selling them doesn't have to change, but where you're addressing them might. You might need 3 or 4 front-end marketing campaigns to bring them in all to the same offer, because you need to speak their language on the front end. Even though the product or service you're delivering on the back end doesn't change, it's the same thing. It's how you get them into the system might need to change. And that comes down to segmentation. So when you're segmenting, you want to make sure that you segment down all those little buckets. I talked about Ryan Dice in the beginning of this call of how he does that. He sells the same thing on the back end. It's the Digital Marketer Labs, which that's his goal, is to get you into the Digital Marketer Labs. So next he can certify you, next he can take you, he's going to take you down the line, and you're going to spend $20,000 or $30,000 by the time you're done. That's his goal. That's his lifetime cycle for you. And where he starts is he starts with every little possible niche, every little segment. Like I used LinkedIn marketing for an example. He will take the people that they have a belief that LinkedIn marketing is the key to their success. So that's where he meets them. And that's what he talks about. That's what he sells them. That's what they want to buy, so that's what he sells them. He sells them a little LinkedIn marketing course for $7. In the process of delivering that, it's not just a course, it's an education-based marketing system. So they understand that LinkedIn really isn't the answer to their prayers. It's just this little thing. And then he leads them to the next thing, which leads them to the Digital Marketer Labs. And if you look at how many of those, it just makes my head spin how many of those little lead-ins he has. He has them for everything you've ever heard of. He has them for Snapchat and, Facebook and how to target, how to do Facebook Insights. He breaks it down into these little tiny things, and he'll sell them for $7 on the front end just to get you in. And really what he's done is he's sold you his marketing, to get you into the next level. But there is a shift when you sell somebody something. They move from a prospect to a customer, even if it's a $7 sale. And once they're your customer, it's a different relationship. They've trusted you enough to give you their credit card information. That is a different relationship. So his chances of converting you now from a $7 sale to a $29 sale is through the roof. Once he does that, his conversion, his odds of converting you from that mill sale to a $99 sale or a $4.99 sale is through the roof. Because every step of the way, he's providing more and more value for you to get you ultimately where you want to go. Because he knows the ultimate thing is you want freedom. You want a business that you don't have to work hard for, and it just pays you for the rest of your life. So he's getting you coming in from all angles depending on which little market segment that you are in. Whatever mindset you're in today, that's what he's going to hit you with. It seriously, it makes my head spin of how many of those he's come up with. It's awesome. And I mean, he's got a war machine behind him. He has a whole staff of people that's their job. If they don't come up with a new idea today, they'll be working for somebody else tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise, the outcome. It's an awesome display of work. Pretty cool stuff.
That helps, because I do see his stuff all over, and but you've been able to bring it into sharp, crystal clear focus for me.
Yeah, it's exactly why he does what he does. And you want to learn from that. You might have the same opportunity. Your people might be in like 50 different little niches, and you're not going to be effective unless you meet them where they are. So you might need, as many of them as there are, you're going to need that many marketing campaigns. Now, it doesn't mean you need the whole marketing campaign. 90% of the back end might fit the bill. It's just that front end, how you lead them into it. That's where you're going to need to make the multiples to meet them where they are. And that's easy to do. Once you get a good converting back end and you've got your offer set and you've got your education-based marketing system in place and that's tested and it's proven, you're going to want to create as many of those front-end offers as you can to get as many people into your funnel as you can.
So my avatar can stay the same. She can just like shift you know, what her deal is. Like, some people think social media is the salvation, you know, just put up a social media profile and they buy from social media gurus. But if, you know, if they don't know the foundations of their marketing, it's a waste. Or some people think it's just blogging, or some, so, but the avatar is the same though, right?
No, it's not. That's the piece you got to get. It's not the same avatar. They don't speak the same language. It is like their twin. 90% of it might be the same, but it's their twin, and their twin has a different taste. You know, it's like the twin might think that LinkedIn is the way to go. You know, triplet might think that, hey, you know, social media over here in Twitter is the way to go. You know, the quadruplet twin might think, you know, something else. And 99% of them can be the same, but it's that one little piece makes them a different avatar. And
that's where the belief is. That's the belief. Okay.
Yeah. Every time you have a different avatar with a different belief, that is a different avatar. So that belief, if it doesn't exist in another avatar, it doesn't make sense for you to be trying to install a new belief where they don't need it. That's the component. And look at Ryan Dice. That's exactly what he's doing. He's creating all these little things. And hey, if you don't think LinkedIn is the thing, then that's okay. He's going to hit you with Twitter tomorrow. He's going to figure out which one is important to you, and that's how he's going to get you in. But he's going to speak a different language every time he does it. And they all lead to the same thing. They all go to the same back-end funnel. But he has realized that every avatar is different. They all speak a slightly different language. And when you get on track and you're in that language pattern with them, they're going to fall in love with you. They're going to think, wow, somebody speaks my language. You know, when you're talking to somebody that has the same beliefs with you, you tend to bond with them very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they become friends. Now, when you're talking to somebody that has completely different beliefs than you, what you get is you get an adversary. Like if you and I were in a conversation and I was under 100% belief that Twitter was the way to go and you were 100% belief that Facebook was the way to go, we're probably going to leave and part ways and not have the same feelings about one another as if we both believe Facebook is the end-all be-all.
Right.
So that's the way you want to think of your avatars, and that's the way you want to communicate with them. The more you can be like them, like look at the best salesmen in the world. What they all have in common is a thing called mirroring and matching.
Yeah.
And that's what you're trying to do. And you can't do it face to face. We don't have the luxury of figuring it out face to face. So we have to predetermine it. And we have to figure out where are those people and how can I get that message to them? How can I segregate out all the rest? Because all that's going to do is going to create ad spend that won't convert for me. So that's where market segmentation, the very first step in this whole program, this whole process, is so critical. If you move forward not having that piece right, then none of the rest of it will fall into place for you. And the reality is you might have a whole lot of little segments, and that's actually good. I try and get everybody to just pick one, just for the sake of learning the process. But once you've learned this process, you are going to be different. You know, you guys are all different right now. I guarantee you, from the first time I met you, you are all very different right now just from what you've learned to this point. Every one of you. And you can't undo that. You can never go back to where you were because you know certain things now that you didn't know before. So that's the reason I try and get you all to narrow down to just one. And I know it's painful. I know you know you're looking at all this opportunity and you're like, no, I want 2, I want 3, I want 4. But just for the sake of learning, Just do it with one. And once you learn the process, it'll be so easy for you to go back and duplicate what you've done because you've learned the process all the way through. You'll be able to duplicate it over and over and over. I guarantee it. You will be a different person at the end of this. Once you get through the process, you're going to have the confidence. You're going to have the proof. You know, you'll have the proof that it actually works. And then that's when you will get on your own. I won't have to motivate you. You will already be motivated to make another money-making machine. You know, once you get through it, and you'll realize there's so many little segments that you could go back and hit. But what I stress in the beginning is the one I want you to hit first is the one that's the most profitable. That's why we spend that initial work to figure out what's the most profitable segment that we could possibly hit first. Because I want to give you the best target. You know, in your first one, I want the best chances of you hitting the mark. Because if you do, once you hit the mark, you are going to have such a change. You know, you're going to be so confident when you move to the second one, you'll be unstoppable. So that's my reasoning for why I want you to focus on the most profitable one first. It just gives you the best possible opportunity for success.
So we don't go back and do the Ryan Dice 50 ways to find your perfect client until we've
first
run one all the way through. Okay. Oh, good. Okay.
Week one, get the system down. Once you've learned the system, you'll be able to do that so easily. And like I said, once you create that education-based marketing system that converts, you'll be able to put as many front ends on that as you want. And that will all lead them into your system that you know converts, and it will do the thing automatically for you. And at that point, yeah, I say go back and create all you can. Because really, you're just creating, you know, a couple of steps of the piece. You're creating, you know, maybe a new big idea, a new hook, and a new landing page that opts them into the same program on the back end.
Yeah.
Hey, John, can the big idea be the same?
It can. Yeah, the big idea can be the same. It could just be targeting a slightly different person with a slightly different belief. Absolutely. Yep. One big idea can serve a lot of different avatars. Like, you know, a big idea might be as simple as, you know, work less, make more. That big idea appeals to a lot of different avatars. So the thing that you're going to have to change on the other side is dealing with who that avatar is specifically and what their belief is, what they've already experienced. So when that comes, the big idea might have got them to opt in, but next the lead in the landing page is going to be what has to change there. It needs to speak their language specifically. So it's a highly replicatable system once you get it under your belt and you've got the first one up and running. I mean, I'm getting excited right now about just, you know, all the different front ends that I can put on to sell the ACT program itself. There's, you know, it's equally as broad as Ryan Dice, and I may just go back and just look at all the ones he's done and just replicate them because he's already figured it out. You know, he's already making, you know, selling a digital marketer lab. Yeah, I think he's somewhere in the $20 million a year range. You know, it's awesome what he's done with this system. It's incredible. All right. So, anything else? All right, guys. Well, I think this was a great call. I think a lot of really good material covered here. And again, there's no wrong questions. Anything that you're stuck on or not sure of, never be afraid to just, you know, bring it out, because I may not think about talking about it. You know, it just might not be on top of my mind, but as long as it's top of yours, it's worthy of bringing forth. There's so much stuff in my head, I can't possibly think of all the different things to throw out for you. So I'm kind of depending on you to dig out what you need specifically. So never be afraid.
Do you want us to stay to the topic John? Like analysis?
It's, yeah, as much as possible. I mean, we went a little outside of that in relationship to where we're going with the analysis. So I'll always like to tie it to other things so you know the value of it and what it's for. Like we equated a lot of the analysis today into what we're going to use tomorrow in creation. So perfectly fine with that, as long as it, you know, is somewhat relevant. Yeah. And even if it's not, let me decide, because you may not think it's relevant, but I may be able to find a way that it is. So.
Well, I went over the hook again.
Okay.
On the workbook pages, it has a section that says primary promise proof point.
Okay.
And I keep going back over the hook thinking, where's he talking about proof point?
That's actually, yeah, that's actually two different things. The primary promise is what you're promising, you know, the promise in the statement. And then sometimes there will be a proof point and sometimes there won't. So if there is no proof point, that's okay. Like a proof point might be, you know, take this Garcinia cambogia and you're going to lose 35 pounds in 3 weeks, just like these other 585 people did.
Okay.
So that's a way of like segmenting or segueing in a proof point into a promise.
Okay.
And,
thank you.
And like I said, you might not find that. There's no template. It's like I've given a lot of different variations, and hopefully you can find it because you can learn from that. But if not, don't worry about it. Don't think that you've done something wrong just because it's not there. That's not your fault. So, all right, last call here for today. All right, well, again, I think this was a great call. I look forward to next week. We'll get into copy and tech. You guys haven't really had a lot of tech issues yet, probably because we're not there yet. But the copywriting, I'm really enjoying the copywriting a lot more than I ever have before because I've actually been doing it. And it really isn't that hard. Once I learned how to do it right, it's not that difficult. I was thinking way too much ahead. You know, I was thinking it had to be like structured and proper, and it really doesn't. The best copywriting is going to come from the way you would speak to somebody as a friend. And once you figure that out, it's going to get a lot easier for you. So you want to outline it, you know, and again, I won't get into it today. We'll hit that next week. So I get started here and I'll go for another half hour. So let's close out knowing next week is copywriting, and I'm becoming very fond of that. So I got some great stuff to share with you. So how's that?
Thanks so much, John. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you guys for being on here and asking great questions. It really does improve everything for the group. So thanks again.
Bye.
All right. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.